The first time I saw my own obituary, I was standing in a Walmart parking lot, holding a bag of frozen peas against my swollen cheek. My name was right there on my phone screen. Mara Whitfield, beloved wife, daughter, and friend, passed away suddenly at the age of 37. Beloved wife. That was the part that made me laugh, even though laughing hurt my jaw. Because my husband, Cole, was the reason I was standing alone under a flickering parking lot light with blood on my sleeve and nowhere safe to sleep. And somehow, while I was still breathing, he had already started burying me. I should tell you how it began, because it did not start with violence. It did not start with a scream. It started the way many bad stories start, with trust. I met Cole Whitfield when I was 28 and working the late shift at a family diner outside Nashville. I had two things in my life back, then a small apartment over a laundromat, and a dream to open my own bakery one day. Cole came in every Friday night after work. He always ordered black coffee and apple pie. He wore clean boots, pressed shirts, and a smile that made people forgive him before he even made a mistake. He said he was starting a contracting business. He said he believed in building things that lasted. Houses, families, a future. At that time, I wanted a future so badly that I did not ask enough questions about his past. For a while, forever looked good. We bought a little blue house in Kentucky, not far from the Tennessee line. It had a wraparound porch, a crooked mailbox, and a kitchen big enough for my bakery experiments. Cole's business grew fast. He hired crews. He bought trucks. He shook hands with bank managers and pastors and men from the county office. 3 years into our marriage, I opened Sweet Mercy Bakery. Cole helped me paint the walls a soft yellow. He built the front counter himself. He stood at the grand opening with his arm around my waist and told everyone I was the hardest working woman in the county. I believed he was proud of me. Maybe part of him was, or maybe he was proud of what my name could do for him. For 2 years, the bakery did well. Not rich, well, but enough. Enough to hire 2 girls from the local community college. Enough to pay the loan. Enough for customers to line up on Saturday mornings for cinnamon rolls. Then little things started changing. Cole began asking about my business accounts. Not in a suspicious way at first. He said married people should not have secrets. He said he could help me save on taxes. He said his accountant could make everything easier. At first, I noticed small problems. A vendor called and said a payment bounced. Cole said it was a bank error. A customer said my online ordering page was down. Cole said his web guy was fixing it. One of my employees, Jenna, asked if we were in trouble because her paycheck was late. Cole said the payroll company had messed up. Then the bank called. A woman named Denise said I was behind on a business line of credit for $72,000. I almost dropped the phone into a bowl of frosting. I told her there had to be a mistake. I had never taken out that line of credit. I had one small bakery loan, and I paid it every month. Denise went quiet. That quiet felt like a door opening to a dark basement. She asked if I was alone. I said no. My husband was in the front of the shop, she said. She could not discuss much over the phone, but I needed to come to the branch in person with my identification. That night, I asked him about the credit line. I kept my voice steady because I did not want a fight. I thought maybe there was an explanation. I wanted there to be an explanation so badly that I would have accepted almost anything. Cole put down his fork. He said, "You signed it, Mara." I said I did not. He leaned back and looked tired, like I was disappointing him. He said the stress of the bakery was getting to me. He said I had been forgetful. He said I drank too much wine after work, even though I barely drank at all. That was the first time he tried to move the story out of the bank and into my mind. I did not understand it then. I do now. When a liar cannot defend the lie, he attacks the person who found it. The next morning, I went to the bank. Denise took me into her office and showed me copies of documents with my signature on them. My name was written at the bottom in blue ink. It looked almost like mine. But the M had the wrong slant, and the dots over the I were too perfect. I knew my signature. That was not it. Denise looked nervous. She said the documents had been submitted through a business account portal with identity verification completed. She said the funds had been transferred to a company called W&R Holdings. I had never heard of W&R Holdings. When I asked who owned it, she said she could not tell me, but I could request a copy of the payment trail through an attorney. Attorney. I drove back to the bakery shaking. Before I got there, my phone rang. It was Jenna, crying. The health department was at the bakery. Someone had reported that we were storing food in unsafe conditions. Someone had sent photos. Someone had claimed a customer got sick. I knew it was a lie. My kitchen was cleaner than some hospitals. But the inspector found spoiled cream in the back refrigerator. Cream I had not ordered. Cream with my supplier's sticker on it. Cream that had been opened and left warm long enough to stink. The inspector shut us down for 48 hours. Cole arrived 15 minutes later and acted shocked. He put his hands on his head and said, "Mara, what is going on with you?" By sunset, half the town had heard. By morning, the other half had an opinion. When you own a small business in a small town, gossip does not walk. It runs. Customers stopped answering my posts. One of the girls quit. My supplier demanded payment up front. The local paper ran a small piece about a temporary closure due to health concerns. And even though it was corrected later, the damage was done. That Friday, Cole brought home takeout and placed it on the kitchen table like peace offering. He said we needed to talk. I thought he meant about the bakery. He meant about my sanity. He had printed articles about stress, memory problems, and depression. He slid them across the table. He said he loved me too much to watch me fall apart. He said I should take a step back from the bakery and let him handle the finances until I got well. I stared at the papers. Then I looked at the man I had married. For 1 second, I saw something behind his face. Not anger, not fear, calculation. I started sleeping with my phone under my pillow. I changed passwords. I checked bank records after midnight while Cole snored beside me. I found transfers I did not recognize. Checks written from my business account to vendors that did not exist. Insurance paperwork I had never seen. Then I found the life insurance policy. $1 million. My signature was on it. So was Cole's. The policy was 6 months old. The beneficiary was my husband. I sat on the bathroom floor with the shower running so he would not hear me cry. The next day, I called the county sheriff's office. The deputy at the desk listened for less than 5 minutes before asking if I had proof. I said I had documents. He said marriage finances were civil matters. I said my signature was forged. He said that was serious, but I needed a handwriting expert. I said I thought my husband might hurt me. He asked if Cole had hit me. I said no, not yet. He looked uncomfortable and gave me a domestic violence brochure folded into thirds. When I got home, Cole was sitting in the dark living room. The brochure was in his hand. I do not know how he found it. Maybe I dropped it. Maybe he checked my purse. Maybe by then he was already watching everything. He asked me if I thought he was a monster. I said I did not know what he was. He stood up slowly. That was the first night he grabbed me. Not a punch. Not something a person could photograph easily. He gripped my arm hard enough to leave bruises in the shape of his fingers and whispered that I was sick, ungrateful, and dangerous to myself. Then he let me go and apologized. He cried. I had never seen him cry before. He said he was scared of losing me. 2 days later, I found the cameras. One in the smoke detector in the bakery office, one in a bookshelf in our bedroom, one in the garage, pointed at my car. I did not touch them. I took pictures with an old phone that was not connected to our account. Then I drove to my friend Tessa's house. Tessa had known me since high school. She was loud, loyal, and the kind of woman who kept a baseball bat behind her bedroom door because she said the world had not earned her softness. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "You need to disappear before he makes you disappear." I laughed because it sounded dramatic. Then she asked, "Mara, why did he buy life insurance?" I stopped laughing. We made a plan. I would gather proof for 1 week. Bank statements, photos of the cameras, copies of the insurance forms. Anything I could get without alerting him. Then I would leave while he was at a contractors' conference in Louisville. Tessa said I could stay with her cousin in Memphis. On Wednesday night, Cole came home early. I was in his office, holding a folder from the bottom drawer of his filing cabinet. Inside were copies of my forged signature, a second set of business documents, and a receipt from a private clinic across state lines. The clinic receipt had my name on it. The service description said cognitive evaluation. I had never been there. Cole stood in the doorway and looked at the folder in my hands. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he smiled. He said, "You always were too curious." I ran. I made it to the kitchen before he caught me. My shoulder slammed into the refrigerator. He grabbed my phone and threw it against the tile. I screamed, but our closest neighbor was a quarter-mile away. He did not hit my face at first. He was smarter than that. He pushed me to the floor and pinned my wrists. He told me I was having a breakdown. He told me he would call someone to help me. He said if I fought him, everyone would know how unstable I had become. Then the landline rang. That sound saved my life. Cole looked toward the hallway for half a second. I grabbed the cast iron skillet from the lower shelf and swung it into his knee. He went down hard. I ran barefoot out the back door, through wet grass, across the ditch, and into the dark road. A truck nearly hit me. The driver was an older man named Mr. Alvarez who delivered produce to my bakery. He knew me. He saw my bleeding lip and torn shirt and did not ask stupid questions. He unlocked the passenger door and said, "Get in." That was how I ended up in a Walmart, parking lot 30 miles away, holding frozen peas against my cheek, while Tessa drove to meet me. And that was when I saw my obituary. At first, I thought it was a cruel joke. Then I saw who posted it. Cole. The message said, he was devastated to announce that I had taken my own life after a long private struggle with mental health. It asked for privacy. It said there would be a memorial service that weekend. The comments were full of crying emojis, prayers, and people saying Cole had done everything he could. My hands went cold. Tessa pulled up beside me, jumped out, and grabbed my shoulders. I showed her the phone. She read it once. Then she read it again. Her face changed. Not fear. Rage, she said. He is not just trying to steal from you. He is creating the ending before he commits it. We did not go to Memphis. We went to the one person Cole would never expect me to trust. His mother. Evelyn Whitfield lived in a brick ranch house outside Bowling Green, with white roses in the yard and a Bible on every side table. She had never liked me much. She thought I was too independent, too plain-spoken, too unwilling to treat her son like a king. When she opened the door and saw my face, she said one word. Finally. I did not understand. She let us in, locked the door, and made coffee like this was a normal visit. Then she told me the truth about Cole. He had been married before. Not officially, she said. Engaged. Living together. A woman named Rachel Morris. She had helped him start his first business in Indiana. She had also signed papers. She had also lost her mind, according to Cole. Rachel disappeared 8 years earlier. Evelyn said Cole told everyone Rachel ran off with another man. But a month after Rachel disappeared, Evelyn found her necklace in Cole's truck, tucked under the spare tire with blood on the clasp. I asked why she never went to the police. Evelyn's eyes filled with shame. She said, "I did. Cole told them I was confused. He told them I was drinking again." And I was. Back then, I was. So they believed him. There are moments when the world shifts under your feet, and every memory rearranges itself. Cole had not become dangerous. He had been dangerous before I met him. I was not his first victim. I was his pattern. Evelyn went to her bedroom and came back with a shoebox. Inside were letters from Rachel, old photographs, and a flash drive wrapped in tissue. Rachel had mailed it to Evelyn before she vanished. Evelyn had been too scared to open it. Tessa plugged the flash drive into her laptop. There were videos. Rachel had recorded herself sitting in a car, whispering because she was afraid Cole would hear her. She talked about forged loans, fake medical records, hidden cameras, and an insurance policy. She said if anything happened to her, Cole did it. The last video was filmed at night. Rachel's face was bruised. She said she had found a storage unit receipt. She said she was going there in the morning to see what Cole was hiding. She never made another video. Evelyn covered her mouth and sobbed without sound. I felt something inside me turn solid. Until that moment, I had wanted to survive. We called a lawyer from Evelyn's church, a retired prosecutor named Martin Bell. He was in his 70s, sharp as broken glass, and angry in a calm way that scared me more than shouting. He watched Rachel's videos. He examined my documents. He looked at the obituary post. Then he said, "Your husband thinks he already wrote the story. We are going to let him keep writing until he incriminates himself." I wanted him arrested immediately. Martin shook his head. He said Cole had friends, money, and a clean public image. If we ran in with fear and bruises, Cole would say I was unstable. He would say I forged documents to hide my business failure. He would say grief made his mother confused, and people might believe him. So Martin made a plan that felt insane. I would stay hidden for 48 hours. Evelyn would call Cole and pretend she believed his story. She would tell him she was heartbroken and wanted to help with the memorial. Tessa would quietly take my evidence to a forensic accountant Martin trusted. Martin would contact a state investigator he knew, not the local sheriff. And me. I would make one video. Not a shaky video. Not a crying video. A clear statement. If I disappeared, if I died, if anyone claimed I hurt myself, the public needed to know where to look. I sat at Evelyn's kitchen table with a lamp pointed at my face and told the story from the beginning. I named the fake loans, the insurance policy, the cameras, the forged clinic visit. Rachel. When I finished, Martin saved copies to 3 drives and 1 secure online folder. Then we waited. Waiting is its own kind of torture. Every hour, I imagined Cole finding us. I imagined his truck in the driveway. I imagined the back door opening. I imagined all the ways a person can be caught by the life they are trying to escape. On Friday morning, Evelyn called him on speaker. Cole answered with a broken voice. He called her Mama. He said he could not sleep. He said the house felt empty. He said he kept expecting me to walk into the room. I had to press my fist against my mouth. Evelyn asked about the memorial. Cole said he wanted it at New Hope Church, where everyone knew us. He said there would be a closed casket because of the circumstances. Closed casket. For a woman whose body he did not have. Martin wrote something on a yellow legal pad and turned it toward me. He is planning a fake body or no body. Evelyn asked if the police had found me. Cole paused. Then he said, "Not yet, but they will." The river is high. The river. That was the first mistake he made. Nobody had mentioned a river. Nobody had even filed a missing person report yet, because according to the world, I was already dead by announcement, not by evidence. Martin's eyes narrowed. He wrote another note. Ask which river. Evelyn's voice trembled in a way that was not acting anymore. Which river, baby? Cole sighed. Barren River, probably. She used to go there when she was upset. I had been to Barren River twice in my life. Both times with him. After the call, Martin stepped onto the porch and made 3 phone calls. My purse had my wallet in it, my driver's license, my bakery keys, even a lipstick I had not carried in months. But no woman planning to vanish into a river takes her bakery keys and leaves behind the emergency cash hidden in her car. The investigator, a woman named Special Agent Lena Ortiz, noticed everything. Lena came to Evelyn's house late that night. She was compact, serious, and spoke in short sentences that made me trust her. She listened to my story without making faces. She did not ask why I stayed. She did not ask why I did not leave sooner. Good investigators do not waste time blaming victims for surviving in the only way they could. She said they could not arrest Cole yet. But they could watch him, and they could wire Evelyn for the memorial. The memorial was Sunday. Cole planned to stand in front of our town, cry over an empty casket, and collect sympathy like money from an ATM. I wanted to stop it. Lena said, no. We let him perform. I asked why. She said, because performers forget where the stage ends. So on Sunday morning, I sat in a safe house 2 counties away and watched my own memorial through a small hidden camera in Evelyn's purse. New Hope Church was full. People I had fed for years sat in pews with tissues in their hands. My employees were there, my suppliers, the mayor, the sheriff's deputy who had dismissed me. Everyone came to watch Cole grieve. There was a framed photograph of me near the front. The casket was closed. White roses sat on top. Cole walked to the podium in a black suit and touched the casket like my body was inside. For a moment, I could not breathe. It is a strange thing to see your life reduced to flowers and lies. Cole spoke beautifully. Of course he did. He said I was the love of his life. He said mental illness was a silent enemy. He said he wished he had known how much pain I was hiding. He said he would spend the rest of his life honoring me. People cried. I did not. My tears had gone somewhere deeper than my eyes. Then Evelyn stood. She walked slowly to the front. Cole looked surprised but pleased. He probably thought his mother was about to bless his performance. She took the microphone. Her hands shook. She said, my son asked me to speak about Mara today. But I need to speak about Rachel too. The church went quiet. Cole's face changed so fast that even through the camera I saw it. Evelyn continued. She said Rachel Morris had disappeared 8 years ago. She said Mara had discovered the same pattern. She said there were forged documents, insurance policies, and hidden cameras. She said she had been silent too long. Cole stepped toward her. The pastor tried to stop him. Cole smiled at the crowd and said gently, Mama is confused. Grief does strange things. There it was. The same old weapon. Confusion. Only this time the room was listening differently. Evelyn looked at him and said, no, baby. Grief made me quiet. Guilt made me sober, but truth made me brave. Then she played Rachel's video. Tessa had loaded it onto the church projector before the service. She was sitting in the sound booth with a finger on the button and fury in her eyes. Rachel's face appeared on the screen. Her voice filled the church. She said Cole's name. She said she was afraid. She said if she disappeared, he did it. People gasped. Someone stood up. Cole lunged for the sound booth, but 2 state investigators in plain clothes moved faster. They blocked the easel. Cole shouted that it was fake. Then Martin Bell stood from the second row and said, loud enough for every phone in the room to record. Then you will not mind explaining why you knew Mara's belongings would be found at Barren River before law enforcement announced it. Cole froze. That silence did what my screams never could. It told the truth. He was arrested in front of the casket he had rented for me. I wish I could say I felt joy. I did not. I felt empty, then tired, then shaking so hard Lena had to take the phone from my hand. The investigation found more than we expected. W&R Holdings was owned by Cole under his middle name and a business partner's address. Money from my bakery had been moved there, then used to pay debts from his failing contracting company. The private clinic admitted Cole had paid a staff member to create a false record, suggesting I had memory issues. That staff member became a witness. The cameras were traced to an online order from Cole's email. The life insurance application showed identity verification, completed from an IP address at our house, while I was working at the bakery, proven by security footage from my own front counter. And Rachel. For weeks, I was afraid they would never find anything. Then investigators searched the old storage unit Rachel mentioned in her video. Cole had stopped paying for it years earlier, but the company kept digital records. A former employee remembered a man moving boxes out late at night after Rachel disappeared. That lead took them to a property Cole once leased near Mammoth Cave. They found Rachel's car buried under a collapsed shed. They found enough evidence inside to charge him. I will not describe it. Some details belong to the dead and the people who loved them. Rachel had a sister named Naomi. She came to Kentucky when the news broke. The first time we met, she hugged me so hard I could barely breathe. She thanked me for surviving. I told her Rachel saved me first. Because she did. Her videos, her fear, her courage from 8 years before, reached across time and put a weapon in my hand. Not a gun. Not a knife. Truth. Cole's trial lasted 11 days. The courtroom was packed. Some people came because they cared. Some came because tragedy is a show in small towns. I learned to stop wondering which was which. Cole looked smaller at the defense table. His suits were still expensive, his hair still perfect, but the glow had gone out of him. Without an audience that believed him automatically, he was just a man with too many lies and not enough exits. His lawyer tried to say I was unstable. Lena Ortiz took the stand and calmly listed the evidence. His lawyer tried to say Evelyn was unreliable. Evelyn took the stand, looked at her son, and said, I was unreliable when I protected him. I became reliable when I stopped. His lawyer tried to suggest Rachel had run away. Then Rachel's video played. The jury watched her face. No one moved. When it was my turn, I thought I would be afraid. I was, but fear is not always a wall. Sometimes fear is a staircase. You climb it because the only other choice is staying underground. The prosecutor asked me to tell the jury what happened. So I told them. I told them about the bank call, the forged documents, the spoiled cream, the fake clinic record, the night he caught me, the obituary. The river. Cole stared at the table the entire time. He never looked at me. Not once. That hurt in a strange way. After everything, some small human part of me wanted him to look up and show regret. But regret requires a heart willing to admit another person is real. Cole had never loved me as a person. He had loved me as a resource, a signature, a business, a body that could be insured and erased. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the courtroom felt like one held breath. Guilty of fraud, guilty of identity theft, guilty of domestic assault, guilty of attempted insurance fraud, guilty of attempted murder, and in Rachel's case, guilty of murder. Evelyn folded in half. I sat still. I thought the word guilty would make me whole again. It did not. But it opened a door. At sentencing, Cole finally looked at me. He was allowed to speak. He stood in an orange jumpsuit and said he was sorry for how things had turned out. Not for what he did, for how things had turned out. Then, he said he hoped one day I would remember the good years. That was when I asked to speak. My knees shook as I walked to the front, but my voice did not. I told him the good years were not evidence of love. They were the bait. I told him he had mistaken kindness for weakness and trust for blindness. I told him Rachel's name would not be buried anymore. Neither would mine. Then I said, "You wrote my obituary too early, Cole. I am here to read yours." The judge sentenced him to life in prison, plus additional years for what he did to me. People keep asking if revenge felt sweet. The truth is, revenge was not the sweetest part. Revenge is hot. It burns fast. It gives you energy when you are too tired to stand. I needed that fire for a while. I will not apologize for it. But justice was different. Justice was quiet. Justice was watching my bakery sign go back up. Justice was seeing the health department issue a public correction. Justice was getting every stolen dollar traced, even if I never recovered all of it. Justice was Jenna coming back to work and taping a handwritten note to the register that said, "Welcome home, Mara." For months after the trial, I could not sleep through the night. Every sound became Cole's truck. Every shadow became a hidden camera. Healing was not a straight road. It was a hallway with too many doors, and some nights I opened the wrong one. Tessa stayed with me for 3 weeks. She slept on my couch with that same baseball bat beside her. Evelyn came by every morning with coffee and apologies. I never asked for, but slowly learned to accept. Naomi sent me a framed photo of Rachel, standing in sunlight with wind in her hair. I hung it in the bakery office, not where customers could see it, but where I could. I wanted to remember that my second life was built partly from her first warning. 6 months after sentencing, I reopened Sweet Mercy Bakery. The line stretched around the block. Some people came because they loved my cinnamon rolls. Some came because they felt guilty for believing Cole. Some came because they had watched the trial and wanted to stand near survival. I did not care why they came. I served every one of them. Near closing time, a young woman came in alone. She wore sunglasses even though it was raining. She asked for coffee, then stood at the counter for too long. I recognized the posture. Not the person. The posture. The way fear makes the shoulders apologize for existing. She whispered, "How did you know when to leave?" The bakery went quiet around me, even though no one else heard her. I looked at her hands. No ring. But there was a bruise near her wrist, half hidden by her sleeve. I wanted to give her a perfect answer, a sentence that could unlock every cage. But there is no perfect answer. So I told her the truth. I did not know soon enough. I just knew before it was too late. She started crying. I took her into the back office, the same office where Cole had hidden a camera, and I called Lena Ortiz. That is what survival became for me. Not a trophy. Not a happy ending wrapped in ribbon. A doorway. One woman gets out, then holds the door open for the next. A year later, I sold the blue house. I bought a smaller place behind the bakery with a tiny garden and locks I chose myself. On summer evenings, I sat outside and listened to the town settle. Dogs barking, trains passing, church bells in the distance. Normal sounds, safe sounds. Sometimes I still thought about Cole. Not because I missed him. Because trauma has a way of replaying old movies, even after you leave the theater. But the memories changed over time. Cole used to say he built things that lasted. Maybe he did. He built a case against himself. He built a trail of lies so long that even his charm could not cover it. He built my fear into something sharp enough to cut me free. But me, I rebuilt a life, not the old one. I do not want the old one back. I built a life with my name on the bank account, my keys in my pocket, my story in my own mouth, and no man standing between me and the door. The last thing I ever received from Cole was a letter from the state prison. I almost threw it away. Instead, I opened it at the bakery after closing, with Tessa beside me and Rachel's photo on the wall. It was 3 pages long. He wrote that prison had given him time to think. He wrote that he missed my apple pie. He wrote that he hoped I could find peace. He never wrote Rachel's name. He never wrote the word murder. He never wrote the word sorry, without wrapping it in excuses. At the end, he asked me to visit. Tessa said she would drive me there if I wanted. Evelyn said she would understand either way. Naomi said silence is also an answer. For one night, I wondered if I needed to face him one last time to prove he had no power left. Then morning came. I unlocked the bakery. I made dough. I brewed coffee. I watched sunlight move across the yellow walls he once helped me paint. And I realized something. I did not need to prove anything to him. The opposite of love is not hate. It is distance. So I took his letter to the back kitchen, slid it into the oven, and watched it curl into ash. Then I baked the first batch of cinnamon rolls for the day. Customers arrived at 7. A little girl pressed her nose to the glass case. Mr. Alvarez complained that my coffee was too strong, then drank 3 cups. Jenna sang off key while boxing cupcakes. Tessa came in with fresh flowers and pretended not to check the locks. Life did not become perfect. It became mine. That evening, after closing, I walked to the river. Not Barren River. A smaller one near my new house, gentle and shallow, with stones shining under the water. I brought Rachel's sister, Naomi. I brought Evelyn. I brought Tessa. We stood together while the sun went down. Naomi read a letter to Rachel. Evelyn cried openly. Tessa held my hand. I did not say much. Then I took a copy of the fake obituary Cole had posted and folded it into a small paper boat. I placed it on the water. For a second, it floated. Then it tipped, filled, and sank. I watched until it disappeared. My name had been printed there once as if I were already gone. But names are not so easy to bury when the person carrying them refuses to stay dead. I walked home under a dark blue sky with flour still under my fingernails, keys in my hand, and tomorrow waiting for me like an open door. And that is the truth Cole never understood. He could steal my money. He could forge my signature. He could write my ending and invite the whole town to mourn me. But he could not keep what was never his. My voice, my life, my name. I am Mara Whitfield. I was not buried. I was planted. And I grew back with thorns.